Snow fell gently across the quiet valley as Emily wrapped herself in her worn-out cardigan and stirred the last bit of soup simmering in the pot. It had been another difficult day at the diner where she worked double shifts just to keep the lights on in her tiny log cabin on the edge of the forest. At 24, she had long given up on dreams of a big life. She had learned to find comfort in the small things: warm tea, the sound of crackling firewood, and the silent companionship of her old radio. The storm outside had come faster than the forecast predicted, blanketing everything in white silence, and as she looked out the window, she felt a strange stillness in her chest, like something unexpected was about to happen. And then, just as she turned to set her single place at the table, there was a knock on the door. It wasn't the kind of knock that echoed with confidence, but one filled with hesitation, as if the person behind it wasn't sure they deserved to be there. She opened the door slowly, her heart thudding, and was shocked to see a man in a heavy coat, dusted in snow, holding a little boy wrapped in a torn blanket. The child looked ill, his cheeks were flushed, and there was a gash above his eyebrow. The man looked equally exhausted, his eyes hollow from fatigue and worry. "I'm so sorry to bother you," he said, his voice gravelly but gentle. "We were driving to the next town and skidded off the road. My phone's dead, the car won't start, and my son is sick. Could we, just for tonight, stay here?" Every warning bell went off in Emily's mind. She lived alone. This was a strange man. But then she looked at the boy, whose little fingers clutched at his father's coat with desperation, and something in her heart softened. She stepped aside. "Come in," she said. That one decision would change her entire life. Inside, she helped them get warm. She offered them soup and brought out a spare blanket she kept folded in the linen chest. The boy's name was Jamie, and he was 5. The father said his name was Daniel, though he offered little else about himself. He didn't seem like the kind of man used to asking for help. He kept thanking her, awkwardly, as if ashamed. She noticed how he scanned her cabin, the peeling walls, the flickering lights, the second-hand furniture, the mismatched dishes, and yet he said nothing critical. Jamie coughed through the night, and Emily stayed up warming wet cloths and keeping a kettle boiling. When morning came, the snow was deeper, the road still impassable. Emily called the town mechanic with the last minutes of her prepaid phone and asked him to check the roadside in the afternoon. Daniel offered to pay for everything, but she gently shook her head. "You don't have to pay. You needed help. That's enough." What she didn't see was the way he watched her, studying her patience, her strength, her quiet dignity. Over the next 2 days, as they remained snowed in, Emily began to notice little things about Daniel. The way he spoke to Jamie with calm reassurance, the way he folded the blanket precisely, the way he fixed her dripping faucet without being asked. He wasn't an ordinary man, but she couldn't put her finger on why. They shared simple meals and long conversations by the fire. He told her he was between jobs and needed time to figure things out. She didn't press him. One night, Jamie asked her to read a bedtime story. She read from a torn book by candlelight while Daniel listened from the other room. That night, after Jamie had fallen asleep, Daniel quietly said, "You remind me of someone I once knew. She taught me that kindness doesn't require wealth. Just courage." Emily blushed but didn't reply. The third day, the mechanic came. The car was fixed, the road cleared. Emily stood at the doorway, watching Daniel and Jamie pack up. She felt an ache she didn't expect. Jamie hugged her tightly. Daniel turned to her and said, "I'll never forget this." "Neither will he." She smiled, brushing snow from Jamie's coat. "Just get him home safe," she said. And with that, they drove away, disappearing into the white horizon. Emily went back inside, certain she'd never see them again, unaware that Daniel was not just a father, but one of the country's youngest self-made millionaire CEOs, running a billion-dollar tech firm under the radar, currently laying low after a media storm. She had no idea she'd just saved a man the world chased, and in doing so, set her own life on a course she never imagined.